Hi guys, thanks for tuning into my YouTube channel, and for those of you who are here for the first time, my name is Catherine and I tell true stories. My story today is about a black lawyer who was stabbed by a white waiter 3 days to her wedding. Imagine this: you're preparing for your wedding day, you're running up and down, testing the cakes, checking out the gowns, going around with your bridesmaids, fitting their gowns, checking for the shoes, all those excitements prior to your wedding. Going for your facials and, massages to relax you, manicures, pedicures. Nala had been doing all these errands on that morning, 3 days to her wedding. On the other hand, imagine a person who hates their workplace. You know that feeling when you really hate your job or just your workplace in general. Getting out of bed feels like being pulled out of, what can I say? Like you want to stay in a warm water tub, but you're being pulled out to be thrown into an ice bucket. And you want to stay in your warm water bathtub. It feels like that when you're going to the place of work that you hate. And it really makes you even hate everyone at the workplace. You go there, but in your head, you're wondering, when is the day gonna end? This is how her murderer was feeling on that day. Eric, a 40-year-old waiter, loner rather, who everyone at the workplace tried to avoid by all means. Most of the workmates would just say hi, and that was the end of everything. Nothing beyond a hi. And whenever he walked into a place, everybody would walk away, trying to avoid him because of his personality. Employers, sometimes when you hire people, do a background check before bringing someone to the ground. Don't just be fascinated by the charm, the outward charm that you see on this person, the appearance. That is not all you need to look at. You need to look deeper into the person before you bring them to the ground to work. So that afternoon, Nala, after doing her errands of shopping around, and she was so tired, she decided to stop over for lunch, a quick lunch, before she will continue with her errands. And she stopped over for the quick lunch in the restaurant that Eric was working. The guy, the waiter, who dreaded going to work, hated his job like nobody's business. She sat down, waited for a while, went through the menu on the table. Then Eric walked over to her, asked her, "What do you want?" That statement is enough for you to leave a restaurant. A waiter comes and asks you, "What do you want? What do you want?" And not in a polite manner, but with piercing eyes, coldness. "What do you want?" It's like you're trespassing. So Nala just brushed it aside, like, well, could be one of his bad days. That's what she thought. Or so she thought. So she made her order, and Eric took it immediately. A few minutes later, came back with the order, smashed it on the table. You know, not placing it gently, but smashing it on the table. If it was soup, for sure it could have split on her clothes. But it was a sandwich and a Coke. So nothing split. The Coke was in a bottle. She still brushed it aside. And as if that was not enough, Eric stood there waiting for her reaction. You know, like you do something and you wait, like, what can you do about that? You know, with that hard look. What are you going to do about that kind of look? Well, Nala thought that probably it could just be racism that she is going through in this particular restaurant, because her waiter was a white man and she was a black woman, lawyer. One thing she didn't realize either, the moment she walked in, Eric hated her with passion. You know, he hated her just because of her confidence, the way she carried herself, the elegance and the confidence that she carried herself with was kind of intimidating to him, and was like she was passing a message to him that's in his head, like you are a lesser being like me. That's the message that her confidence was passing to him. But to her, she didn't even realize that she's walking with that confidence and elegance. But to somebody with a low self-esteem, that is the message that it passed. And immediately she stepped in, there was a dislike from him to her. That's what she did not realize. Well, she brushed it off and continued eating her sandwich. But all along, she didn't even notice that he had been watching her in disgust. Maybe imagining me, a white guy, serving a black woman. You know, who does she think she is? These people who still live in the colonial eras, still stuck in them, although he's on a younger generation. After the meal, she beckoned for her bill. And like he brought in her meal, he slammed the bill on her table, just like she had slammed the bill, the food on her table. She still brushed that aside, but when she opened the bill, it seemed very high compared to the service that she had received. And below there, it was written she had to give at least a $5 bill to the waiter. And then she thought, with that kind of treatment that she had received, she was gonna give this guy $5? Seriously? Well, she was a lawyer, and justification came into her head. She was like, no, we have to be just. I cannot pay for such kind of trash rabbi service. You treat me like this, then I give you a tip? That's rubbish. She decided she'd pay for the bill anyway for the food, but not the tip. And that's exactly what she did. So she paid her bill and walked away and told him, I am sorry, I'm not going to give that tip for the kind of service I received from you. And she walked towards the door. Little did she know that she had induced some already boiling dislike from Eric, the white waiter. When she held the doorknob to leave, she felt a piercing in her chest, on the side of her chest, through the ribs. And she couldn't figure out what was this, because how would you expect to be stabbed in a restaurant? A customer, and for what reason? There was no robbery, there was nothing. I mean, she couldn't click what was going on until there was some screaming in the restaurant and there was some blood gushing out from her side when she touched to feel what it was. And then came another hard blow through her neck. And she fell to the ground. And that's when some two customers came and grabbed Mr. Eric, the waiter. And his knife flew off his hands. People will not believe what was going on. For a $5 bill. Well, to cut the story short, Eric's background had never been studied by the employer. When they went to his background, they discovered he was a major racist. And his target was black women. And to make the matters worse, this one looked like a black successful woman. Besides his own lack of self-esteem, their success made him even look worse. Because being a racist, and here comes a black woman, very confident, very elegant, and you're gonna serve her rather. I mean, he was in the wrong industry. The service industry does not discriminate. So whoever hired him also was on the wrong. Never did a background check, which when in court, it was done and he had a lot of assaults to black women. Not just in the restaurant, but all over. The women he thought were successful. You can imagine, she died 3 days to her wedding. Her fiancé's dreams were shattered. The family's dreams to see her getting married, living happily, were shattered. And even when the judgment was passed on to Eric, he did not look remorseful. He still held those piercing eyes with a hard face, motionless, like nothing had happened. Yet he was not a psychopath. He was a clear mind. You can imagine how racism can take you, how far racism can go. If you like my content, like, share, and subscribe. Ciao.